Today we continue our World War II series. Now remember, we've ditched the century part of our date, but surely you can remember World War II happened in the 1900s, right? Right? So we're just doing the month and the year. So today's date is July 1940 or 740, the Battle of Britain. This series of aerial conflicts is considered the first major military campaign fought entirely by air forces, and in this case it's the Royal Air Force and Fleet Air Arm of the Royal Navy versus the Luftwaffe. The British recognised this war as being fought from 10th of July to about the 31st of October 1940, with the Blitz overlapping that period. The German objective was to knock out the air forces of Britain and gain air superiority over the Channel, hopefully to force Britain to sign a negotiated peace, or in preparation for Operation Sea Lion, the invasion of Britain. The Luftwaffe first targeted the Air Force, then they moved on to the naval port facilities, then airfields, and then started terror bombing on civilian areas. At the beginning of the battle, the Royal Air Force was at a disadvantage in terms of experienced fighter pilots. The Luftwaffe had more experienced pilots, some drawn from the Spanish Civil War, and contrary to the popular belief, the RAF opened service to all social class backgrounds. The British had far better intelligence services than the Germans, which were plagued with rivalry. The Germans were unable to get an accurate picture of the damage they were causing or Britain's total losses. This was made worse by Luftwaffe pilots exaggerating how many planes they had shot down. In August, Hermann Goering directed attacks on the airfields and caused heavy damage. It was at this time that Polish and Czech flyers joined the battle. After they believed they had pretty much crippled the RAF and the Fleet Air Arm, the Luftwaffe turned to nighttime raids on cities, and this took pressure off the RAF and Fleet Air Arm, which allowed them to get back into the battle. The nighttime bombing raids became known as the Blitz, and it lasted for roughly 57 days from September the 7th. The biggest sustained attack happened on the 15th, and it was repulsed with heavy losses for Germany, and 2 days later Hitler cancelled plans to invade Britain entirely. Germany ultimately lost this battle due to poor military intelligence, which exacerbated poor leadership decisions. Victory in the battle meant that Britain could continue to fight in the war, providing support to resistance movements, sending aid to Soviet Russia after Operation Barbarossa, supporting the overseas colonies fighting in North Africa and in Asia, and the launchpad for the Normandy invasion a few years later. To remember this date, let's take the skies over England, and from one direction, in comes a hurricane, and then multiple planes from the Luftwaffe come in from the other side. The British plane just goes and stays out of the way for a moment while searchlights from below blind the German pilots. This causes them to fly around aimlessly until they crash into each other and the fire and smoke spell out the date. The British pilot basically says job done and heads back to Blighty for tea and biscuits. July 1940 or 740, the Battle of Britain. Thanks for watching.